then summer ended. What's all this? Okay, so these are DLCs, got it. Shopping. Oh, there are moments. Okay. Cove's dad, come back before it gets dark, alright, sport? A familiar voice drifted across the street and drew your attention away from the snail you've been watching inch slowly towards the pavement. Cove waited in front of his house, pushing his green hair back off his face from where the breeze was blowing it over his glasses. He looked to be paying only a mild amount of attention as he was being handed a few slips of green paper. It reminded you of when you first met Mr. Holden, although he's probably not paying Cove to be friends with himself. Huh? Cove's dad seemed to feel your gaze somehow, or maybe you made a noise because a second later his eyes were on you. He waved at you over with a smile. He looked happy to see you, but you still felt a little weird for getting caught. You've got to learn how to be more sneaky. You brushed your hands together to free them of sand, then jogging over to join the two. How's it going? Good to see you again. What excitement are you up to today, Snappy? Nothing. You toed the pavement in front of you. It would be nice to tell them about the snail you found, but you didn't know if they liked snails. I'm like, I found a snail. After you finished answering the questions, Mr. Holden's attention returned to Cove, who was preoccupied with folding the bills he had into tiny rectangles. Sounds fun. It does? You weren't sure about that. You know, Cove was about to hit the stores by the beach. Why don't you go with him? You shrugged. Cove was in the process of making a similar motion. You didn't have anything else to do, and you hadn't been to the stores in a few days. Maybe there was something new to look at. Maybe. Is that okay?
Yes.
I was going by myself, but I guess it is. You don't have to. Thanks, Cove. Great. I'm sure you guys will have loads of fun. Mr. Holden reached into his pockets and pulled out a leather wallet filled with money. You found it odd since your mom's only ever seemed to have cards in theirs. He's a stripper. We figured it out. Here. He leaned in to pass a crisp 10 to Cove, giving him a wink and a whisper. Get something for your friend, too. Sure. That's my boy. Cove's dad ruffled his son's hair as he straightened back up, the bill in his hand still held towards the green-haired boy. Take care. Cove accepted the bill after a second, slipped it into his pocket. Then with one last nod to his dad, he turned and started walking. You follow after him, intrigued at the possibility this outing might bring. Whoa. Cove strayed towards the gentle tide creeping onto the sand, and you fell into the place behind him. It was a nice day. The sun was shining and there weren't many clouds in the sky, though the wind coming off the ocean kept it from being too hot. You took in a deep breath, enjoying the scent of salt and ocean air. When you looked at Cove, he was dragging his feet through the sand a little, and you slowed down to wait for him. His eyes searched the ground intently. Are you looking for snails? Enough with the snails. Okay, I'm off the snail thing. Are you looking for shells? What is it? You didn't feel the need to ask why. I'm gonna say, are you looking for shells? Because he did like that shell. Cove startled a little at the sound of your voice and mumbled, sort of. If you see any, you can let me know. You could manage that. You dropped your view to the sand, walking carefully so you didn't step on any. You were good at finding shells. You had a lot of them at home and always found new ones whenever you visited the beach. The comforting sound of waves filled your silence with pleasant white noise, and played a little game with yourself as you walked along, getting as close to the water as possible without getting wet. It resulted in you having to run up the sand quickly when a wave rushed in more than a few times, and although Cove threw a few glances your way, he didn't say a word. Okay, so we could say you didn't either. What did you want to go to the shops for? What do you usually do on the beach? I'm gonna say, what do you usually go to the shops for? Pretty inquisitive. I need a new sand pail. At the sand pail shop? Yeah, what happened to your old one? Cove narrowed his eyes, seeming to think deeply for a second.
Whoa.
It disappeared. What? Really? Cove ducked his head down, laced his fingers behind his back. It didn't seem like he was going to continue, so you nudged his arm. How did it happen? Well... Cove opened his mouth and shut it again, considering. I took it to the beach one day. Uh-huh. When I got home, it wasn't anywhere. You left it there. Nope, it wasn't at the beach when I went back. Then you lost it? It disappeared. Okay. What about you? What do you do when you're out here? Oh, changing the subject much? I don't come to the beach a lot. I like swimming. I like looking at fish. I like to build sandcastles or nothing. I say I like swimming. Cove's lip curled up in a small smile. Me too. Oh. I guess we're connecting. It occurred to you that you hadn't been swimming in a while. There was so much to do before school started up again in so little time. Once you reached the shopping area, the noise level grew exponentially. No longer just waves and footsteps, but the oh. Oops. You sniffed the air as you walked beside Cove. You could still smell the ocean, but there were other scents now too. Pizza, pretzels, hot donuts. Oh, hot donuts? It's nice. It's not very nice. It's alright. It's nice. Hot donuts? Are you kidding? The energy surrounding the area seemed to fill you, and there was a bounce in your step as you began looking at all the familiar sights. There were so many things to do, you didn't know where to begin. You just looked at Cove, hoping he was excited as you were. Cove was glancing from one side of the street to the other with a look in his aquamarine eyes that you couldn't quite work out. You beautiful boy. What's that? Nothing. Nothing. Cove pointed to a large crowd of people gathered near a few tables with large colorful umbrellas blooming from their middles. You couldn't see past the adults who were blocking the way, but you knew there must be something worth seeing. Without another word, the two of you hurried over to see what was all the commotion about. The hubbub. Feast your eyes on the amazing Alexander. In the center of the crowd was a man with a tall hat and a funny green coat that had three long tails. There was a little table next to him with a cloth hanging over it that read "The Amazing Alexander" in glittery golden script. Why tell people his name if it's already on a sign? Good point. Cove hummed with understanding, then turned to walk away just as the Amazing Alexander began shuffling a deck of cards. You bit your lip reluctantly, starting to follow after Cove again. You continued looking over your shoulder, however, wanting to see as much as you could before you got too far away. Hey! Not watching where you were going proved a bad idea as you bumped right into Cove. Oh, sorry. Did you want to stay or something? If that's okay. He briefly lifted his arms up off his sides before returning them to place. You could have said so. What, did you walk 7 feet and that's too much? With that, it began. The magic man pulled one card out of the deck. That's like in Adventure Time, the magic man who just plays tricks on you. Showing it to the curious onlookers. It was a 4 of diamonds. Watch closely. You did, squeezing through a few of the adult onlookers to get a better view. Suddenly, the man snapped his fingers and the cards just disappeared. Whoa. Cove, uninterested. The Amazing Alexander, who had earned his title, turned his head and looked directly at you. He reached out with a kind smile. What's this behind your ear? Nothing. Tell me. You backed away. I'm gonna say nothing? It was true. You didn't keep anything there. He smelled like popcorn and candy when he stepped closer, and you wrinkled your nose in confusion as you watched him. You felt a tug, and then he pulled the 4 of diamonds from behind your ear. Whoa! You knew that it couldn't really have come from your ear, but you still didn't know how he'd done it. There were light applause from the crowd, and the man gave a deep bow. This is for you. What am I gonna do with a 4 of diamonds? The magician plucked a pair of balloons from a clump of them tied down to his table. You're giving me a balloon, okay. Both were in the shapes of a dolphin instead of being a normal circle. And one for your friend too. Thank you for being my assistant. Wow. Now you were really grateful he chose you. After that, he went to someone else in the crowd. Pick a card, any card. My uncle does that every time he visits, not the balloons, the stuff with the cards. Cove spoke plainly while reaching over to take the dolphin that had been designated for him. Maybe it wasn't so special. Cove is just ruining the fun. At least you had a fun time. You wondered if Cove's whole family was magic. Maybe it wasn't so special. It's too bad, but you kind of wanted to meet Cove's uncle. If you knew how to make things disappear too, you thought that could be pretty neat. The crowd started to clear some, and you noticed to the side that there was a whole rack of brightly colored kaleidoscopes on display. You picked up a kaleidoscope, you picked up a Rubik's Cube, you picked up a magic 8 ball, you walked past the toys. I walked past the toys. I'm not a child. I don't need toys. You briefly looked over the rack of toys thinking that they could be interesting to look at, but you didn't really feel it in the mood at the moment. Cove picked up one of the kaleidoscopes and looked through, twisting the tube at the end. After a second, he set it back on the rack, moving to the other side of the stall. He went under the awning carefully of his own floating dolphin, and you joined him. Did you have places like this in your old town? Are you having fun? I don't really like it here. You said nothing. Probably nothing. What am I to say there? You can look at kaleidoscopes in silence. He stood there in silence for a few moments, waiting for Cove to do something. When he finally moved towards some stalls nearby, you follow behind him. Oh, sick. While Cove looked at sandpills, you were drawn to a table with colorful keychains laid out. They were sewn in the shapes of sea creatures, and there were a plaque that read "Handmade" standing proudly in front. There were lots of different types. You saw a dolphin, a shark, a crab, and a turtle. Oh man, they're all such... I like the shark. Well, no, the crab is pretty sick. Crab or the shark? Pick up the crab. Your hand stopped at the crab claws as a tiny smile on its face. Yeah, good choice. It had big eyes and little legs, and the fabric was smooth when you picked it up. You had seen a few crabs at the beach before, though they usually scuttled away before you got the chance to look at them closely. You liked the idea of having a crab all of your own, even if it was just a soft animal. You were instantly enamored. Checking the price, though, your heart fell. $6! Steep! You didn't know much about money, but you thought that was a lot to spend on one thing. You rarely had more than a $5 bill to your name. Though that changed the day you met Cove and his dad, you still had the $20 bill that Mr. Holden gave you hidden away in your room. Crab money! It was a grand sum of money, but you couldn't spend something that was at home instead of in your pockets. Maybe you'd have asked your moms to bring you here again one day, now that you knew what you wanted. Aw. Cove, is that what you want? Huh? Oh, it's $6. I didn't bring any money. Alright. It's fine. Really? Really? Are you sure? Hooray! You don't have to. I don't want you to get it for me. I would say you don't have to do that. Cove didn't mind that. He took the keychain from your hands, and that was that. He was holding a small yellow bucket for himself, too. My dad told me to. Oh, thanks. I thought you were being nice, but cool. Nah, that's good, too. You were a little nervous, but happy with your purchase, nonetheless. It was nice of Cove's dad to let Cove buy something for you, too. After Cove paid, the two of you stepping out of the store side by side, your balloon dolphins knocking together and spiraling around in the air. You watch Cove hold up his new pail to his face, examining it thoroughly. Hey, Cove. Yeah? Did your dad always give out money like that? Thanks for getting me it. Nothing. I say thanks for getting me it. Okay. Cool. Nice conversation. It was really clear if he... It wasn't clear if he really accepted your thanks or not. What? You were going to thank him for the keychain again, but considering he only did it because his dad told him to, it probably didn't matter. Cove raised an eyebrow, but didn't push the issue. Cove looked further down the street where different food carts were lined up. He rested his non-cast arm over his stomach, and just as he did, yours let out a light growl. You haven't eaten since breakfast. After all this wandering around, you're definitely ready for some lunch. Let's get some food. Yeah. Oh my god, are we on a date? I just thought of this now. I didn't even realize. Sorry. Completely oblivious to this, you two wandered around a short while looking at all the delicacies that were available. Everything looked delicious, and as the different smells, both sweet and salty, wafted over you, your stomach growled even louder. After passing up hot dogs, snow cones, ice cream, and pizza, you both agreed on pretzels. Nice choice. Cove got something sweet and cinnamony, and you got a plain one, got one with cheese, got one with sprinkles, got one with chocolate, got the same. Oh, cheese, hands down. You licked your lips hungrily as the vendor handed your pretzel over, ready to take a big bite. It was covered in gooey, melted cheese, just the way you like it. Wait a second. I didn't want a pretzel covered with cheese. How on earth are you gonna eat that? You get a pretzel with a side of cheese. We all know that's how you do it. Okay. It seemed odd to get a dessert pretzel before eating normal food. Not really, I eat dessert before. You found an empty table close enough to the beach that the grit of the sand made terrible noise when you dragged the chairs out to sit down. These balloons are gonna make it hard to eat. Cove placed his bucket on the table as he stared at his still balled up hand that was wrapped around the string. You opened your mouth to agree, and an idea hit you. I know. After carefully placing your pretzel somewhere, it wouldn't get sandy, you tugged the balloon dolphin out of Cove's hand and tied it to a delicate bow around his wrist. Oh? Cove bounced his arm up and down in place, testing the stability of your knot. After watching his balloon jostle around but remained attached, he smiled, satisfied. Could you help me too? I can't tie it to my own wrist. He repeated the ritual. Cove struggled somewhat with his cast, restricting his fingers on one hand and a string already tangled around the other. Got it. The two of you spent a moment admiring your handiwork, both hands now free to allow easy munching on your pretzels. You bit into the doughy treat, savoring the taste on your tongue with a smile as you looked out into the ocean. After a time you finished your pretzel, you were done before Cove. It was boring not to have anything to do. You pulled on the string of your balloon to bring it down to your level, then held the dolphin in your hand, manipulating it to make it look like it was jumping through the air. Sick. If you turned to face towards the beach, it almost looked like it was swimming in the waves like a real dolphin. A laugh came from your side. When you glanced back at Cove, he had left the remaining parts of his pretzel on the wrapper, and he was gripping his dolphin too. Mine's name is Merryweather. He's the Prince of Dolphins. Although I like that he's the Prince of Dolphins, I would never name anything Merryweather. Mine's name is Splash. They star in movies. Mine's name is Cherry. She's actually an alien. Mine's name is Sam. They're just a regular dolphin. No, mine's name is Cherry, and she's an alien. When no one is looking, she transformed back into her true alien self. She has purple skin and 10 eyes. I'm not a weirdo at all. You sighed, wishing you could meet a real-life alien. I'm like, ugh, aliens. Love them. What's yours? Cove considered this question, placing the balloon against the table and resting his free arm across it in contemplation. It's... With a loud pop, the dolphin exploded into ribbons. It's dead. Oh no! For a second, all Cove did was gape in shock like you. Then his cheeks puffed up. Oh, I forgot he was a crier, man. Through this whole time I was... Yeah, this kid's a crier. Then his cheeks puffed up, squinting his eyes, and he saw tears starting to glisten. You made a joke. You offered to find Alexander. You offered to give Cove your balloon. You didn't say anything. He would be alright. I would probably give Cove my balloon. You can have my balloon instead if you want it. Cove looked over at you, frowning. I don't want yours. Oh. You felt bad for Cove, but you were secretly glad you really liked the little dolphin. You were eager to give it up. Cove spent the rest of your outing stiffly and didn't say much else. The passing of Cove's balloon was the last major event of your adventure. In the end, the two of you headed back late that afternoon. You separated on the beach, and while Cove went straight home with his brand new sand pail in hand, you decided to sit for a while. You watched the waves and the sunset fiddling with your new keychain. Another summer day was drawing to a close. It had been nice for the most part. Hopefully there wouldn't be any tears next time. Yeah. Hopefully not. No more of the waterworks, please. Okay. So we are on Grown Up. Is that the next one? I don't know if this is in linear order, so if it's not, I apologize, but we're gonna go to Grown Up. One sweltering summer day, you were in your living room with Cove, listening to the sounds of the birds chattering outside the window while you lay across the rug on the floor. I'm gonna be honest right now, not in love. I'm not even close to being in love with Cove because he cries and he's kind of a baby, so. Cove's dad had dropped him off earlier and your moms had left the two of you along with Lizzie to play amongst yourselves. It had been too hot to go outside in the afternoon, at least according to Mommy, so your sister was starting to get impatient waiting for her class that evening. The three of you had trouble finding something fun to do. The beach and the playground were off limits, and you felt that it was too warm for anything like playing with your fuzzy toy animals. Then suddenly a light came to Lizzie's big brown eyes, and her smile spread wide across her face, having an idea that gave her a new wave of energy. Lizzie, since we're stuck inside, we should be adults. They don't play outdoors anyways. They're always inside and telling everybody that they're too busy to play. That's true. I do that constantly.
Why?
Why?
Duh.
I said why, and it'll be fun. Duh. What do they do inside that we don't? Besides use the phone a lot. True. Lots of perks to being an adult. You can watch TV. You can drink alcohol. You can maybe do drugs. You know, there's a ton. Excluding a small huff, Lizzie decides to ignore Cove. That's nice. Snappy, what do you think? Do you want to? Cove said it. That doesn't sound fun. I bet we could come up with something else. I don't know. I want to. No, I bet we could come up with something else, because that's not a game. Lizzie, stupid. Lizzie, but that's what I'm going to do, and it's not as fun when I play pretend adults by myself. Do you do that a lot? What's it to you? Yeah, seriously, Cove. Buzz off. Looking at Lizzie, it seemed Cove felt he could understand where she was coming from, and he sighed. Do you really not want to play, Snappy? It was clear he wanted some way out, but it still felt guilty about it. I'll try it, but that sounds boring. Okay, I'll stay. Sorry, I have other stuff to do. I'm a real adult. I have stuff to do. I'll try it, but that sounds boring. It's not gonna be, I guarantee it. Lizzie seemed more determined than ever, and you could only sigh. Satisfied that neither of you were about to bail on her, Lizzie thought over her options while you watched. After a few seconds, she clapped her hands together and beamed, apparently having settled on something without asking either of you. Okay. I'm gonna be a professional golfer. Snappy, you and Cove can be a beach volleyball player, a gymnast, or a tennis player. Why can't we pick anything we want? Because I have a fun idea, that's why. And we have to play sports as adults? That's a good point. Damn. Yes. There are other kinds of sports too. It isn't the same. What do you think, Snappy? Don't those choices sound super cool? You want to be that, huh? I kind of like those. It really doesn't. Haha, it sounds like a blast. Is there anything else we can be? You nodded. Maybe not. Maybe not. Lizzie turned the scowl she started practicing just for Cove towards you. Practically raging in frustration, you shrank back down. You already said you were going to play, so you knew you might as well pick one. Cove was not impressed by Lizzie's attitude, though he did not bother talking more about it. You thought over the list of possibilities. Beach volleyball, gymnastics, or tennis. Out of all of them, you'd prefer to play... I mean, beach volleyball is kind of the funnest. Gymnastics, tennis, yeah, beach volleyball, yeah. If you couldn't spend the afternoon at the beach for real, then you might as well pretend you were there. You could even wear your swimsuit to make it look more realistic, although Lizzie probably wouldn't let you run off and do that now that she had you here. Yes, that was clearly the top option. I guess I'll be a volleyball player. Alright, yeah. How about you, Cove? I was going to pick volleyball. Well, you can't, because I did, so pick another one. Lizzie threw her hands up in the air, making an annoying sound. You guys can't be the same things. That's not how it works. You didn't say that. The rules picking from the list. You can't keep adding more. I agree. These stipulations we did not agree to. Lizzie looked at the two of you, then shook her head, resigned to losing this battle but not the war. Fine, you're both volleyball players, but you're on the same team because there's only one. Then how do we play against other people? Your story is falling apart, Lizzie. Lizzie's ponytail bobbed when she proudly stretched her arms wide. The Olympic team. Okay. What? We're Olympic athletes who just competed in the Olympics. Cove didn't seem all that impressed with the announcement. He made a face and adjusted the glasses on his nose. That's really specific. Ugh, that's what makes it fun. Anyway, Lizzie marched back and forth in front of us, getting lost in her own imagination. Lizzie, I won all gold medals and people are calling me the next Mickey Wright. Right? Who's that? Lizzie stopped on the spot and turned on him, her brown eyes shining with impatience. It doesn't matter if you know who she is. It's a golf thing. You guys won medals too. Your team placed at silver. It's more real if it's not all first place. Okay. Silver sucks. I don't want silver. I'm okay with that. Hey, we can do better than silver. Silver's not bad. Nice. You stay silent. I'm gonna say silver sucks. I don't want silver. I want gold. Only gold. You folded your arms across your chest, staring Lizzie down. Me neither. Cove doesn't want it either. You nodded at Cove, happy that he had your back. Sorry. Lots of people lose at the Olympics. Them's the breaks. That is the best. Oh my god, I want to use that all the time. Them's the breaks. Sorry guys, them's the breaks. Then you're the one who did, not me. Lizzie looked taken aback by Cove's declaration, as though the thought of her losing was completely absurd. No way, it doesn't make Lizzie, no way, it doesn't make sense. I already practicing my golf game. She took a golfing stance to make her point, pretending to swing her club and hit an invisible ball. She goes, do you see that? 300 yards right there. She's like, and I'm at 10 years old, 300 yards. So what kind of house do you want to live in? Cove hadn't changed his mind about winning, but thinking about where he'd live as an adult appealed to him, apparently because he looked back at Lizzie with some sort of anger fading. I'm going to live on the beach, like a hermit crab. Lizzie made a face poking out her tongue. That's kind of boring. We already have that. No, not like the normal houses here on with a street on it, right on the sand, by the water. Just like that, all the tensions was back. You didn't even have a chance to choose where you would want to live. That's not fun or smart, Cove. You can't live on a bunch of sand and shells. That's true. You have it, your foundation is gonna be off, it's gonna be a mess. But I want to, and I will. Cove narrowed his eyes at Lizzie, even though she stood half a head taller than him. You didn't give out a list of things to pick from this time, so I'm picking that. Why are we even playing pretend if we can't imagine anything?
Jeez.
Well, I'm gonna live in a mansion far away from here and far away from you. One with an indoor pool and a place to practice my award-winning golfing. Oh, how come you're yelling about mine when your idea is even more impossible? Lizzie's face flushed red, her hands balling to fists at her sides. Lizzie, it's not impossible, it's better than yours. Disagreements always seemed to crop up when the two of them were together, and you always felt as though you're stuck in the middle. But when it came to the topic at hand, this time you thought you'd prefer a mansion. Being on the beach was cooler. You wanted to agree with Lizzie. Cove was right. You were tired of deciding between either of them. You didn't engage with their bickering and instead dreamt up your own dream house, and you weren't going to share your ideas with them either. You'd already knew it was a good one. You could swim, Cove, you could swim whenever you want if you live right on the beach. Lizzie, we could still swim anytime we want from where we live now. Being a little closer doesn't mean anything. Cove, says you. The two of them scowled at each other. Lizzie, you're being so unreasonable. Cove, I don't get what you want. This game doesn't make sense. Lizzie, it does. You have to be realistic. I said that. Cove, but you're not. You had no idea what to do to make them stop at this point. It seemed like the two of them would just keep working each other up as long as they could. Nothing you said so far had kept them from being mad. Thankfully, like a greeting card angel, Mom walked into the room. Lizzie rushed to her, hanging into the hem of her skirt and poking out her tongue at Cove. Mom. Lizzie, Snappy, it's time to get ready to go.
You alright with that?
Sorry, you have to leave already, Cove. Their mommy said she'll walk you home, so you won't have to be left in the cove. That's a weird sentence. Cove was still glaring at Lizzie, his face flushed red with anger. Cove, I can go by myself. What? Without giving Mom a chance to stop him, Cove stood and stalked out of the room, shoulders drawn tight. Mom, okay? Worried, Mom turned to look down at you and Lizzie. Mom, you two were playing nice with our new friend, weren't you? I told the truth. They were fighting, Cove and Lizzie, for the whole time. Your sister's jaw dropped, looking betrayed as Mom put both hands on her hips. Elizabeth! I told you to be kind to him. He's having a hard time right now. Lizzie's mouth closed back up, replacing by a tiny frown. I know. I tried. But he was...
That's enough.
Mom, no buts. We both know you can show someone a great time when you put your mind to it. We're going to apologize to Cove and his dad over the phone when he gets home from work tonight. Lizzie hung her head, dragging a foot across the floor from the ground in front of her. Okay, Mom. Mom, good girl. You caught pieces of Lizzie sulking to herself about how it was his fault, but it was over. Mom, alright, we better get a move on. Let's go, kids. Noami. Where did you leave the car keys? Oh, that's my other mommy's name. Mom hustled you all out the door, and you noticed during the car ride to golf practice that Lizzie was quieter than usual. She wasn't usually the first one to request music to listen to in the car, but she didn't say a thing. Usually the first one to request, okay. But she didn't say a thing. Your parents noticed she wasn't in the mood to be bothered. They gave her space, and Mommy just asked you what you'd like to listen to. You picked your favorite song. It always made the car ride more fun. You chose the soundtrack to a cool movie you saw a couple of months ago. You chose a song you knew Lizzie liked. Maybe that would cheer her up. Probably. You were happy to see it brightened her up right away, and she started singing along. Soon enough, her bad mood was a thing of the past. When the car ride was over, you spent the twilight hours watching Lizzie hit things with other girls her age. You didn't know much about golf, but you could tell that she really liked it, so you sat with your moms and tried to puzzle it out. It was nice sitting outside after being cooped up in the house all day, and you stretched out your legs to let the last few minutes of sun warm your skin. When the sun was finally out of sight, dipping behind the horizon, you all got ready to leave. Instead of going straight home, your moms took the family out to dinner. You went to a restaurant you had been going to ever since you could remember. The whole afternoon had been a bunch of shouting. You hadn't even been able to stop, but you could kind of tell that all this helped Lizzie be less angry. The car ride home was quiet, with only the radio providing escape from silence. Lizzie had been in better spirits now, but the closer you got to your neighborhood, the more she wriggled in her seat and frowned out the window. She knew what was coming when you all got back home. Clearly, she was dreading it. Soon enough, Mom was turning onto your street, then reversing into the driveway. Once she cut the ignition, it was dead silent. No one spoke, only unbuckled their seatbelts and opened their doors. Lizzie was the last one out. Once everybody was inside and done taking off their shoes, she propped her hands on her hips.
So,
Mom, now then, Mr. Holden's car is in his driveway, so he could be back from work. That's good news, isn't it, Elizabeth? You and Cove can hash things out before the day's done. Lizzie didn't complain or put up a fight. Her head ducked so she didn't have to meet anyone's eyes. She just nodded. Good. Let's move this to the kitchen. Mom went over to the house phone and the rest of you followed behind her. Mommy put a gentle hand on Lizzie's shoulder as they walked side by side. You watched them from the back. This was only happening because you told on Lizzie. Whoa. No, I told what the situation was. I didn't tell on her. I just said you didn't regret it. You felt a little guilty, like you had betrayed your sister. You hadn't liked doing it, but had to. But it was her fault for doing it in the first place. Yeah, it was her fault for doing it in the first place, because why don't you just, it's an imaginary game. Why you gotta be so rude, you know? You hadn't done anything wrong by telling the truth. It wasn't like Lizzie was going to say it on her own. The four of you stood around the kitchen in a lopsided square. All eyes were on Lizzie, who kept her gaze on her feet. Mommy? You remember the number for Cove's house, don't you, honey? Lizzie jerked her head in another nod, sullen without further prompting. She stepped forward and began to dial. Beep, beep, boop, boop. Mom reached over and pressed a button on the base. Suddenly, you could hear the phone ringing. She turned on the speaker. The phone rang a couple times, then Mr. Holden's warm voice came through the other end. Evening, Holden residence. Lizzie looked over at Mommy, unsure. She nodded encouragingly. Hi. Lizzie, hi, Mr. Holden. It's, Lizzie. Can I talk to Cove?
Absolutely.
Cove's dad says, Lizzie dog. What a surprise. But of course you could say hey to the boy. He sounded cheerful as usual, though definitely meant it when he said it was a surprise. You thought hard, and you were sure that your sister had never called Cove's house before. Mom spoke up before Mr. Holden or Lizzie could say anything more. Her arms were crossed over her chest. Her lips pursed. Hi, Cliff. Nolani, Snappy, and I are here too. Cliff is his name? Dear God. Mommy, good evening. We're sorry to bother you so late. You spoke up to say hello. You said nothing to Cove's dad. Yeah, because I'm 8, and it's Cliff and me don't really have a relationship. You shifted from one foot to another, but remained where you were. The gang's all here, huh? Is something the matter? His voice grew a bit concerned. Mommy was quick to reassure him. No. Well, yes, but it's going to be okay. Lizzie and Cove got into a bit of a fight today. We were hoping that the two of them could talk and make up. Is this a good time for you and Cove?
What?
Cove's dad, Cliff. A fight? Cliff. Cove didn't tell me anything about that when I came home. It does explain the funk he's been in tonight. No, that's just his personality. He chuckled lightly. Despite that, it didn't seem like he really thought it was funny. Anyway, it's good you didn't catch us at a bad time. Uncle grabbed him for you. There was some shuffling at the other end. He must not have gone far because he could still hear him calling out. Cove, there's someone on the phone for you. After a beat of silence, there was more muffled talking from Cove's dad. Come on, bud. Lizzie just called so she could talk to you. It took a bit of back and forth, though the conversation seemed one-sided since you couldn't hear Cove properly. Eventually, Cove took the phone from his dad.
Hi.
Hello? Now, the most gangster thing that she could do right now is in front of everyone, where she's like, you're a nerd, I was right, click, sick. Hey, it's Lizzie. Yeah, I know, Dad told me. Cove's tone was defensive. Lizzie turned to Mom, scowling. One stern look from her, though, and Lizzie turned away.
Sorry.
Lizzie, I just called to say I'm sorry. We're not playing nice with you today. I won't do it again. Lizzie's eyes were downcast, her voice low. You could tell she felt uncomfortable apologizing to Cove in front of everyone. She was still being genuine about feeling bad. Cove must have realized that too because he sighed quietly. Cove, I want gold. Lizzie was momentarily stunned silent by the demand. You could understand why he did it. He had wanted gold too. Lizzie, alright, you win the gold. Cove, okay, I guess. I'm sorry too. A sense of relief washed over Owen at his acceptance of the apology. Mom uncrossed her arms while Mommy's shoulders relaxed. Lizzie's eyebrows raised up. You wondered if she thought that he'd refuse her apology. Cove, Dad, can I get off the phone now? You couldn't see him, but it was obvious that Cove felt awkward about the situation. He had come off uncomfortable the entire time, really.
Yeah.
Cove's dad, Cliff. Yeah, you can go back to your room if you want. Be sure to say goodbye first, though. Cove, bye, Lizzie. Lizzie, bye. With that said, Cove had handed the phone to his dad and left since Mr. Holden spoke up.
That's a relief.
Cliff, well, all's well that ends well, as they say. Thanks for arranging this. I'm sure he appreciates it. I don't think he does at all. As Mom replied, Lizzie tugged on Mommy's hand to catch her attention. Lizzie, can I go now
Good
too?
job.
Mommy, sure, sweetie. Thank you so much for apologizing to Cove. Mom flashed a brief smile at Lizzie and nodded her agreement. Given permission to leave, Lizzie scurried off to the stairs. She seemed to be feeling much better with the incident behind her. Mommy and Mummy returned to the phone, taking it off the speaker. They continued to talk to Mr. Holden. You couldn't tell what about. You were glad that it was the end of it all. Lizzie and Cove might not get along and probably still won't, but they weren't mad at each other anymore. Mom and Mummy weren't upset either. Everything was finally back to normal. With that, though, you retreated to your own room with a spring in your step. Boom. Grown up. Okay. So we're at long day. It was another scorching summer day, the kind where no sooner had you finished up one cup of water, you were already filling it up again. Everyone else had something on, so that afternoon it was just you and Shiloh. Oh, Shiloh I love. This didn't happen much, especially since Cove had arrived. Without Lizzie around, Shiloh, I don't think it matters, looked to you for all the answers. It made you feel pleased, frustrated, nothing really. Yeah, nothing really. Shiloh went along with whatever you wanted, so he wasn't a bother, but he also wasn't that much fun. If there was a book and it had his picture in it, and the definition was not much of a bother, but not that much fun either, that would be perfect. You drained yet another drink and frowned at the empty vessel. Your thirst was gone, but you still craved something icy, cold and refreshing, something sweet, something like a popsicle, an ice cream sandwich. Oh, a popsicle, easy. Fruit and heat, definitely. You wanted something fruity and brightly colored. There was nothing like that to be found at home. You knew that without needing to look, your moms didn't keep sweets in the house. Oh, sweet Nazis, huh? Outside, there were plenty of places where such goodies could be obtained, but they were shops and demanded payment in exchange for their products. Capitalism, damn it. You sighed. You voiced your predicament out loud. You asked Shiloh for help. Oh, I would voice my predicament out loud. I want a popsicle. Yes, as directly. Shiloh, who had been draped over the sofa, perked up.
Yeah.
That sounds good. We don't have anything like that in the house, and I don't have any money. Oh, let me check if I have any. Okay, now I feel like I'm kind of abusing this cute little boy. That's not good. Shiloh rummaged in his backpack and proudly produced an assortment of coins plus one straight button. Wait a second, where's the $20 bill? Is that gone? Or am I just hoarding it? You set the button aside and counted the coins in neat piles. Just over $1. You announced this to Shiloh. He had almost certainly come to the same conclusion, but he'd been watching you expectantly. I'm gonna say it's a start. We can find let's find coins. Let's do it. Shiloh beamed at you. We'll need to find some more. Shiloh, okay. The two of you lifted couch cushions, stuck tiny hands down deep crevices in the sofa and under furniture, and scoured the back of the drawers. Most of what you found was useless or gross: bent paper clips, fluffy wisps of dust, sandy crumbs, but every so often one of you would strike silver or bronze and add it to the growing pile of coins. Your mind wandered to the $20 bill tucked away in your room. It was enough for you and Shiloh to get whatever you wanted and more, but you didn't take it out. It was too special to hand over so freely. Besides, Shiloh would be curious about where it came from and might even mention your wealth to Lizzie. The exchange has been a secret. Right, you don't want people finding out how much you're worth. It's a big thing. Okay. Dusty and disheveled. He doesn't look dusty and disheveled at all. He has just a little ash dust on his nose. From checking every room and squinting into every tiny nook, the two of you finished pooling your finds. Shiloh held his breath as you counted the coins once again. Stappy, $2.53 and 2 buttons. You didn't know where the second button had decided to join the party, but you were too pleased with the success haul to throw it out. Is that enough? You figured he knew the answer without looking to you for confirmation, but the thrill of your success and the reward that would follow canceled out any other feelings you might have had about it. Yeah, you could now afford something at the shops, just one thing. But that was infinitely better than none. Shiloh clapped his hands. Yay! Oh, what a precious little boy. The two of you dashed outside, the promise of sugar boiled. I know I'm saying that wrong. Whatever. On to your destination where, breathless but happy, you stared at the overwhelming number of options. You knew what you wanted, but it wasn't just you who had contributed to the funds to get the treat. You seemed to notice your pause. Aren't you getting a popsicle? Shiloh asked, as though he was entirely separate from the decision, rather than someone with a stake in the outcome. Snappy, do you mind? Shiloh cocked his head to the side. It was your idea. You should choose. You went ahead and got what you wanted originally. Are you really sure it's okay? You tried to get something you both wanted anyway. Man. Oh. He's such a cute boy. What, am I gonna turn down this boy's sweet treat? I'm gonna say you tried to get something you both wanted. It wasn't fair for you to be the only one who decided when he'd been a main factor in making this happen. Some of the money came directly from his backpack. What do you like? All of them, they're so good. You pressed further. What do you really like, popsicles or ice cream? Which is your favorite? It's hard to pick. I don't know. Frustrated, you cut to the heart of the matter. You want me to choose? Yeah. Okay. And that was that. You got the dessert you wanted originally and hoped Shiloh would actually like it too. Finally, the reward for all your hard work was in your hands. You sucked on the fruity popsicle you bought, the icy treat cooled you down perfectly, and the zesty flavor was refreshing. You held it out to Shiloh so he could take a turn. He shook his head.
Finish it.
You could finish it? He didn't want any after everything that he did to help get it? That was weird. But you accepted the offer. You tried to include Shiloh. You hesitated. No. Lick the popsicle. Even if Shiloh said it was okay, every story you've ever seen on TV or read in a book said that sharing was caring. You stood your ground, even as the treat started to trickle dangerously towards your fingers. It's only fair that you have some. We both bought it. But you want it more than I do, and getting to play was a lot of fun already, so you can have it. That's more fair. You held it out to him. I want you to have some even more than I want to finish it, so eat your part. Relenting, Shiloh took the treat and gave it a taste. His eyes lit up. It's really good. Thank you. What a sweet boy. You smiled, pleased with your good deed. You picked the best one. Oh my god. So cute. Did he mean that? Shiloh's always nice, no matter what happened. Even if he hated it, you knew he wouldn't say so. Maybe he thought it was gross, and that's the real reason why he didn't want to take some. You had no idea. You studied him as he ate a little more. He had every appearance of enjoying himself. Still weird. The two of you began to head home as he ate. You walked side by side on the shore in silence, but your thoughts kept drifting to the boy beside you. Why didn't he speak up for himself? It was almost as if Shiloh didn't know how to say what he felt or was too afraid to. You figured that was his problem and didn't care. Are you scared of me? You thought that was kind of sad. Are we friends? I'm gonna say, are you scared of me? Shiloh opened his eyes wide, seemingly caught off guard by the blunt question. No way! But you didn't tell me things like what you want to do or what treat we should get. That's not because I'm scared, it's because you have better ideas than I do. Unfortunately, this was yet another thing you couldn't entirely believe Shiloh on. You hoped it was true and that he really did feel okay around you, though. Shiloh made you unsure about setting a label on the experience of spending the afternoon with him. There had been good times and there had been confusing ones. You were positive one thing at least, the treat was delicious and that was nice. The sun was low on the horizon. You returned to your neighborhood, where you spotted two very familiar figures up ahead, Lizzie and Cove. You opened your mouth to make your presence known to them, just as you saw the tear on Cove's face. Oh my god, we got waterworks again. You walked straight over, Shiloh at your heels. Once there, you defended Cove, took a moment to make a joke, accused Lizzie of causing trouble, carefully asked about what had happened. Yeah, carefully asked about what happened. Without a time machine, the only way you're going to find out was by asking the witness. Lizzie might have done something, but she could have been in the wrong place at the wrong time, or even come to Cove's aid. You wanted to hear the story. Cove, what happened? Snappy, I got yelled at. Took a deep, steadying breath. Some grandparents got mad at me. How do you know they're grandparents? You mean geezers? Geezes? Ah, sorry. Lizzie jerked her head in the direction of a nearby house. Your heart shrunk. You knew exactly what had happened. Every year, the same mean old couple rented out that condo for the summer. You, Lizzie, and Shiloh knew to stay away from them, but Cove couldn't have. Snappy, they're really like that with everyone. Even your mom struggled to find anything nice to say about them, but the elderly pair particularly took offense to kids. Cove, yeah, Lizzie said. Lizzie drew herself up at that. She looked pointedly in your direction.
Uh-huh.
Lizzie, I was helping. Cool. Shiloh, that's cool. Is there anything else I could do? Shut up, Shiloh. What are you doing? You don't know the situation. Cove, no, I'm just gonna stay away. Lizzie, or we could teach them a lesson. Burn their house down. Oh, I'm sorry. No. It's too much. There was a devilish glint in her eyes. Cove, what? Lizzie, you should ding-dong ditch them. Go ring the doorbell and run. It'll be great because they're so slow. They'll never catch you. Yeah, old people, geezes. Cove, that's dumb. I don't want to go near them ever again.
You're just saying that because you're a chicken.
Lizzie, just so mean. Just can't help being mean. Cove glared but didn't take the bait. Lizzie turned to you. Lizzie, you're not a chicken, are you? Oh, I'm not a chicken. Yeah, cluck cluck. You'd rather just avoid them. You thought they deserved worse. I'll do it. I'll do it. Lizzie, really? You took a deep breath and nodded. Lizzie squealed with delight. Lizzie, we'll go hide. Run as soon as you hit the bell. Shiloh, good luck. Shiloh, I don't think that you understand the situation. Lizzie and Shiloh ran across the road to take shelter in the bushes. Even once they settled down, you could make out two child-sized shapes staring from behind the leaves. You knew where to look for them, though, and so you told yourself that the grouchy old people wouldn't spot it. Cove sighed, his gaze flickering to the house and then back to you. Cove, don't get caught. It'll be okay. They're like, Godspeed. We went to join Lizzie and Shiloh in their hideaway. The weight of the 3 pairs of eyes on your back was heavier than anything you'd carried before as you approached the door. You hesitated as you reached the doorbell, then I rung it. You slapped the buzzer and ran. Blood thumped against your eardrums with every step. Could you make it in time? Approaching the hiding spot, you knew that there wasn't time to go around the bushes the others had. You took a shortcut, leaping over them, or to be more accurate, crashing onto the tops of the bushes and then falling over to the other side. Now that's a pretty hilarious picture. Judging from the squeak, it was Shiloh who cushioned your fall. Lizzie, shh. Shut up, Shiloh. Lizzie put a finger to her lips and nodded at the house. You disentangled your limbs from Shiloh's and spun around to see the old man framed in the doorway, peering back and forth suspiciously. You covered your mouth with your hands, but it wasn't enough to stifle your giggle. Maybe he spotted one of you, or maybe it was the leaves you displaced while jumping, but he locked eyes with the bushes, stormed over in your direction. Shiloh gasped and looked at Lizzie. Lizzie, run. Your sister did not hesitate to take her own advice, neither did you, and Shiloh. Cove, with just one fully operational arm, took a little longer to get to his feet, but still caught up to Shiloh with ease. The old man's hollers propelled you all from the street to the sanctity of the hill. Only once you were safe did you notice the stitch in your chest and the ache of your legs. You flopped down, and the blades of grass tickling your face. Lizzie, who had taken the lead in the end, was already lazing on the ground. The 4 of you took a moment to catch your breath and enjoying the feeling of cool grass against your skin.
Go.
Lizzie. Hey, Cove. Cove lifted his head. Lizzie, I told you there were mean grandparents around here. Cove rolled his eyes, then decided this wasn't dismissive enough and rolled his whole body away from your sister. Lizzie chose to ignore his response and started chatting with SHILOH, who eagerly joined in the conversation. In the back of your mind, you knew you'd be second fiddle against Shiloh once Lizzie came around. It always went like that. And it was fine, you thought. You still felt a little sad after how much time you spent together, and it was annoying. I'm gonna say you still felt a little, because I do genuinely feel a little bit sad that I can't spend more time with that little boy. You felt a little sad after how much time you spent together. You'd been hoping that you might have become closer, but you had to let it go. He was happy where he was. I mean, me and him, we can't be. It's not. We're too different, you know. You closed your eyes, laid on your side, and relaxed. Some time passed with you like that. It felt good to take a real break. You moved onto your back with a small smile and looked at the darkening sky. The blanket of clouds reminded you of a thick throw you curled under on cold, rainy days. You wondered if the clouds would be as soft. They lazily floated on by, splitting from each other, merging and morphing into new shapes. You saw a dolphin, you saw a car, you saw an alpaca, you saw a smiley face, you saw cloud shapes. I'm gonna say a smiley face. You saw a smiley face looking back down at you. You nudged Cove and pointed at it. Snappy, look, it's a smiley face. Cove joined you in looking up at the sky. The clouds twisted, turning one of the dots, making an eye into a line. Cove, it's winking at us. He chuckled at the silly face. All the sun's light faded from the sky and the moon rose higher. Lizzie got to her feet, dusting strands of grass from her bare legs and surveying her surroundings. The ocean, visible from the crest of the hill, beckoned with every sweep of the tide. Let's go to the beach. There was no argument from the other two. Shiloh was still Shiloh, and Cove would never say no to going to the shore. He was a child of the sea. You wanted to go out there too. We're too tired to argue. We're happy to do what others wanted. Object to the plan. Too tired to argue. It had been a long, hot day. You weren't bothered about going there, but you would rather do that than make a scene. You stepped into the sand for the second time that day, but it felt different at night. The beach was nearly quiet at this hour. Abandoned sandcastles and footsteps in the sand, too big to belong to any of you, were the only indication of how busy it had been only hours earlier. The four of you kicked shoes off and removed socks and walked along the water's edge. The waves tickled your feet. I wonder what would happen if you tried to take a bath in the ocean with shampoo and everything. Cove. That would be bad for the fish. Lizzie, I didn't say anyone would do it. Jeez, you don't have to be so serious about everything. Cove, you're the one who asked what would happen. That is what would happen. It hurt the fish.
Jeez.
Shiloh, I like bubble baths at home. They're a lot of fun. I bet you do. Me too. Lizzie, me too. Bubble baths are luxurious. You never heard Lizzie use the word before. Lizzie, Mommy loves to have bubbles in her bath. She'll turn the lights off and have candles. I'm gonna do that next time. Lizzie, hey, when's your mom coming to pick you up anyway? Shiloh, not for a while. She's busy. Cove, what about your dad? How come you never talk to him? Nobody does. Oh, how come you never talk about him? Nobody does. Lizzie, don't you know you're not supposed to ask something like that? Why would someone want to talk about something they never talk about? I don't usually agree with her, but that's a good point. You kept your eyes on the ground, watching your toes get swallowed up by the waves. Even if Shiloh never seemed upset when this topic came up, it made you feel awkward just for having both of your moms. Shiloh, it's okay. I'm like Lizzie and Snappy. I don't have a dad, but I don't have two moms. I just have one. She's really great. God, what a good boy. What a good boy. Cove, oh, sorry. I only have one now too. My mom isn't here. She's back home. It's just my dad with me.
Sorry.
Shiloh, I never had a dad or anything, so I don't feel bad. It's really sad that your mom is gone. Cove nodded. You joked about Shiloh's mom getting together with Cove's dad. Even if they're all different, our parents are good in their own ways. You didn't say anything. Should we make the joke? I mean, laughter is best medicine, though. You didn't have anything covered to say to that, so you tried to lighten the mood. Hey, since you both only have one parent, Cove's dad could marry Shiloh's mom, then you two would be brothers. Cove stopped abruptly, his face set hard. Cove, my dad isn't going to do that. Shiloh tugged at the rim of his hat. Neither is my mom. She doesn't want to marry anybody. Lizzie, I told you people this wasn't a good thing to talk about. Just trying to lighten the mood, guys. It seems your plan backfired and the mood soured even more. You didn't know what to do. The silence broke with a splash as Lizzie kicked in your direction. Cold water and sodden sand splattered against your legs. Lizzie giggled, foot still outstretched from the kick. Cove joined in, striking the incoming waves to make a splash of his own. Shiloh scurried out to Cove's spray zone with a grin. You made a run for it. You retaliated. I retaliated. You used your foot to smack the water cooling around you, sending an arc of sea foam flying back into your sister's face. You laughed as she spluttered some of the salty seawater having landed in her mouth. She spat it out. Yuck! Lizzie chased you, intent on revenge. You dashed up and down the coast, taking it in turns to be the predator and the prey, as well as joining forces to take down Shiloh or Cove. Alliances were silently forged and wordlessly broken. Everything was fair game in war. Shiloh, ah! Shiloh's brief exclamation was drowned out by the biggest splash yet, caused by him falling face first onto the ground. That would have been bad enough without the waves that followed, cascading over his prone body. Shiloh sat up, shaking his head like a dog coming in from the rain. As you all hurried over to check on him, his hair was plastered to his head, and his silk clothes clung. If there was any part of him that was still dry, you couldn't see it. That was crazy. Are you okay? Shiloh, yeah, my foot got stuck and I fell over. Lizzie, way to go, Shiloh, you Dumbo. You offered him some help. Let him get up for himself. No, I offered him help. Shiloh didn't take your outstretched hand at the moment you dropped it. Lizzie was too busy snickering to notice and held her hand out to Shiloh too. He reached over and took it. Slowly he started to pull himself up from the ground. Jeez, okay, now I know his true feelings. Alright. Then he slipped out on the slick sand, dragging him and Lizzie down just in time for another wave to hit. The water rolled over them. Lizzie, pfft. Shiloh, oh, sorry. Oh, really? Really? An accident. Okay. What were the odds of that happening twice in a row? You thought they must be low. But there's no way Shiloh would do something like that on purpose, then pretend it was an accident, especially not to Lizzie. Even if your relationship with Shiloh felt unclear, he did at least like her a lot. Lizzie was his favorite, right? Smiling boldly, Lizzie extracted herself from the ground and wiped a streak of sand from her cheek. She didn't intend to let this embarrass her. Shiloh got up as well, this time without incident. He still looked like a drowned puppy, but that didn't stop Cove laughing at the two of them. With that, it was all time to call it a day. The four of you drudgedly made your way back home, leaving a trail of wet footsteps and sand in your wake as damp clothes weighed the group down. Your moms were outside chatting to Cove's dad. Lizzie, we're back! Your mom's face felt as they took in the state of you all were in, ranging from messy to soaked. Mommy, Elizabeth, is that all you have to say for yourself? You brought half the beach back with you. Mom, they certainly did. What's Marigold going to do when she comes to get Shiloh? Is this how you wanted him to be for the long drive home? Cold and filthy? Lizzie's expression turned sulky over the scolding. Being the oldest could be fun, but it also meant she was the first one to get in trouble when something went wrong. Mr. Holden, on the other hand, chuckled as he ruffled Cove's matted hair. He's a cool guy. You've been out making memories, bucko. I'm glad you had a good time with your friends. Cove used his slightly moist cast arm to push his dad off. Mr. Holden's eyes widened when he noticed even that had gotten wet. Now he was worried too. I think they could have found a less risky way to spend time in it and had just as much fun. How is this risky? Cove's dad, Cliff. That might be right, kids. What can you do? Come on, Cove. Let's go get you cleaned up and dried off. We wouldn't want that cast to have to be reset. Cove winced at the thought. Okay. Cliff. That a boy. Mr. Holden casually bent down and plucked Cove up off the ground, ultimately holding Cove against his chest. Sand was already transferring from Cove onto him, but it didn't seem to bother Mr. Holden. Cove protested being carried, but only got a reassuring pat on the back for his trouble.
Take care.
Good night, Cove. Thank you for the talk, Cliff. Night, dog family. And Shiloh, too.
Fine.
Well, we
fine.
better do what we can to fix you guys up, too. Come on, everybody inside. I want you to march straight to the downstairs bathroom. Yes, Mom. Okay, Lizzie's mom. Don't worry about stopping to wipe your feet on the mat this time. That won't do much good tonight. Sitting on an old beach towel, your mummy had found you waited in the hall. Until you were less sandy, you weren't allowed to go to your room or walk around the house. But you did get to eat a sandwich for dinner there. It felt like an indoor picnic. It had been decided that Shiloh would wash first and borrow some of your clothes. He was already finished and packed away in his mom's car. Miss Fields had come to collect him a little while ago. It was a bit of a funny experience seeing him without that hat on for once. Lizzie, being much more soaked than you, got to go into the tub next. It wasn't a bubble bath as she hoped, but there was a no fun allowed cleanup session. At least that's what she had claimed. Not much longer, and it would be your turn. When the bath was done, you'd have to go right to bed. After a day like this, though you were glad that there weren't going to be any further events, drifting off to sleep sounded like a great idea. Okay, that was pretty good. It was a long day, and I'm pretty sure Shiloh is just not gonna happen because, he's got his own things, and I don't really want to get into that, but,